Let's start from your background.
Yes.
Where are you from, and what faith? What is your what was your faith at that time? How involved you were in your faith?
I was born in Pakistan. I'm a Pakistani. I don't know why I'm wearing. I didn't choose to. I was born in Pakistan, and I was born in a Muslim family, but not devout family. I had two polar opposites in my family. So my maternal side was a bit Muslim, but not as devout because there was no like abaya or burqas in that sense. And then also my paternal side is not devout whatsoever. So I had agnostic and atheist in my families in my paternal side. So it was much more of a different upbringing where I saw two polar opposites. So for me, it wasn't much of a devoutness that came into my life. It was more of a cultural sort of Muslim perspective that we took, especially in my life that I saw. So I would say I know a few bits, but I was never a devout one. I tried learning, but it wasn't.
When you went out into school or into into society, were you questioned about your faith or your lack of faith in Pakistan?
So because I was born in the city of Lahore, Lahore is a very Lahore. There's two different sides to Lahore. So there's one side of Lahore which is very religious because the slums of the whole Lahore basically. But then you see the other side of Lahore, which is like Gulbarg or Defence, or you see Kent, Askari, and those sort of areas. When you're around those areas, you grow up in a very secular environment, basically.
Okay.
So very moderate Muslims do not care about what religion you are, because everybody already has a perception they're all Muslims. Doesn't matter what sort of Muslim, but they are just Muslims. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that sort of a perspective. This is why growing up in a city, it's a bit of a different thing, rather than growing up as in a slum area, which can, because people like those, like if someone grew up in supposedly near Tata Darbar, which is like a huge shrine in Lahore, if someone grows around that area or Androon Lahore, which is like inner city, walled city Lahore, they would have a bit more religiosity in them.
Upbringing.
But
as
for me, because I was schooled, I went to a British school all my life.
Okay.
So I come from a bit of a niche background. Sorry. So a bit more upper class in the way. Not just trying.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I'm being humble as much as possible, but I'm giving the truth in that regard too. So
right, I understand what you're saying. So, but even at that time, were you conscious of I'm a Muslim, I need to know what the Quran says. I've read the Quran. Nothing at all.
What happened was we used to get this Qari Sahib, which is more like a sort of a Maulvi, a sort of a teacher, a Muslim teacher who will come to the home and then teach me, oh, this is how you read Alif Lam Mim, and I'm like Alif Lam Mim. So I used to be very just direct in the words. Though he would read in a very much of a I'm like, nah, I'm not interested in that. So he was like,
and you were not under pressure to do it anyway.
Because he used to come in at our home, so we hired him. So he had boundaries himself. He couldn't impose anything on us, if you know what I mean. So that's how I started. I just knew how to read Arabic, read the whole thing, and that was it. And once I finished, they sort of gave this Indian sweets like gulab jamun or barfi, if you all know what I mean. And that was it. And I was like, there's no reason, but they just celebrated. I was like, okay, it's just another thing to have sweets. So as a child, it was just good in that way, something to celebrate. But there was no actual religiosity in me, which gave me like, oh, I'm more closer to God. No, there was nothing like that.
So then what got you searching?
Okay, so 2013. I was like, okay, unfortunately my father passed away as a Muslim, and that got me thinking a bit more about Islam and make me realize about these things.
I was searching for you.
Started thinking about Islam in that way, and I was like, I need to know God. I need to know that I need to have that discernment. I need to understand that I am a Muslim just by the name, but I need to know more about Islam, that the faith that I grew up in. That's when I was like, okay. So I hired a Muslim scholar, quite a well-known scholar in Lahore. It was thinking about this is making me see it even more, and I'm thinking, I came to someone who's given me the perspective that I was wanting to seek the knowledge, but this person is telling me to seek the knowledge, don't even think about it, just accept it in your heart. And I'm like, that doesn't work with me. So don't think, brother. Think with your heart, not with your brain. I'm like, so I don't have to rationalize the faith that I want to learn.
And why did you come up with that? Because is there something that you saw in there that you were questioning, and that's why he came?
No. I just wanted to know the faith. I just wanted to learn Islam, and that's why I hired him to come into home and then teach me. But when he said this, that really put me off to start off with. I was like, nah, this is stupid.
Right, okay.
I need to rationalize something that is in my life. I stay in a school, which is not Pakistani school. It's an English school, basically. It's an English medium, British school. So we were taught to constantly question everything that we used to do. So like, I was someone who also grew up in a context where 9/11 happened. The whole of the city of Lahore, many of the slums area, they were celebrating these things. Well, I as a child felt bad for these things. I was horrified, and I asked my mom, why are people celebrating? And my mom had to shut me up and say, no, we don't do it. I saw these things, and it really, really devastated me of why people celebrating other people's
The deaths of
misery
other people.
or death. And this is so even as a child, I'm so glad that sometimes I think about these things, that I was much better human being than an average Muslim that I would actually now come across these days. No offense to Muslims, they're good Muslims. I'm not saying that. That's a difference I've learned, because before I had the anger, but now God has given me that patience. Amen. So this is why when I learned from him in regards to the first surah, and I questioned him as well, like going into details.
Surah Al-Fatiha,
Surah Al-Fatiha, right?
Okay.
He's going into detail. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Okay. Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. Okay. So he